Welcome to Careers in Discovery, your window into the world of biotech leaders. On each episode, we interview the industry's leading executives to understand how they built their careers, what they've learned along the way, and the advice they'd give to their younger selves. In this next episode of Careers in Discovery, Emma is with Lindsay Davies, Chief Scientific Officer at NextCell Pharma. Lindsay's work there focuses on the treatment of autoimmune diseases, especially type 1 diabetes, and we talk to her about her journey from academia to cutting-edge cell therapy, driven entirely by a commitment to patient-centered science and innovation.
This week, I'm delighted to welcome Lindsay Davies, CSO at NextCell Pharma, to join me on Careers in Discovery. Welcome, Lindsay.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I suppose the best place to start, and what I'd really love to hear about, is the really important work that NextCell Pharma are doing within the ATMP world.
Sure. So I am the Chief Scientific Officer at NextCell Pharma, and I've been with the company now for 4 years. And NextCell is a clinical stage company working with umbilical cord-derived mesenchymal stromal cells that they have developed into a drug product and are using to treat different autoimmune and inflammatory disorders, of which their primary focus has been type 1 diabetes.
Fantastic. And I remember back when I had my children, who are 10 and 12 now, I remember seeing in the UK advertisements and notifications about how you can donate your umbilical cords, which I found really fascinating. How does it work in Sweden? Do you need to have them donated to get access?
Yes, so we have NextCell has two companies. We have NextCell Pharma, and we receive umbilical cord donations through the hospitals in Sweden, and for our drug product, we actually produce that in Poland, so that's through Polish hospitals as well. And we have a second company, a daughter company called Cellaviva, and they focus on having that as a service provision for families. So you can actually store your own stem cells from your cord blood and cord tissue for your own usage. So we'd send out like a box to you as an expectant mother. And then when you have your baby, then we take the tissue and the blood, we process it, and then we store it for you in case you ever need it in the future.
Wow, that's fascinating. And it's really important to get that message out there to people that those services are available.
Yeah, it's so important because umbilical cord tissue is normally considered to be somewhat of a waste product.
Yeah.
And there's so many medical applications where we can use the cells derived from that tissue as a source of cells that is so much easier to harvest and use than other tissues like bone marrow, for example, which obviously is quite a painful procedure in order to get hold of that material. So yes, it is a really important message, and there are many unique properties that you only see in those kind of tissues that come from afterbirth, because those cells have been conditioned to deal with having that fetal maternal tolerance. So they have properties that you won't find elsewhere in the body, and we need to exploit those for good.
Really fascinating. So tell me, how did you decide on a career in science, particularly in drug discovery?
I'd say it definitely wasn't a straight path. I'm somewhat of a solution-driven person, and I love challenges. And for me, the most rewarding thing is being able to help people. So I knew that I wanted to do something in my career that would be somewhat challenging and not straightforward, but would also have kind of clear benefit to society. So I did my undergraduates in Aston University in Birmingham in the UK in biology. And quickly moved out of that and became a product designer because I really wanted that kind of solution-driven aspect to my career.
Yeah.
And then realized that actually, no, I love the science and I wanted to get back to it. So did a PhD in Cardiff, and that was my real first exposure to cell therapy. And realized at that time, which was when it was very early in its development, that cell therapy was going to be a bit of a game changer in healthcare, and that this would offer me the perfect opportunity to bring together that kind of design mentality with science and healthcare. So continued down the academic route of doing postdocs, and then moved to Sweden after discovering a new stem cell and patenting it myself.
Wow.
To see like how these cells could be used in a clinical application.
Okay.
So I worked at Karolinska Institute in Stockholm as an associate professor, and then realized that I actually missed the kind of business and commercialization angle. So wanted to bring that in as well. So moved to industry and of course to NextCell, where now we're using mesenchymal stromal cells in a cell therapy to help patients, but also looking at, commercially applying that technology.
Yeah. Okay. So when you made the transition from academia back into industry, were there any surprises?
Yes, to be honest, when you work in academia, you always hear that going to industry is somewhat of the dark side, and that you're kind of selling yourself out as a scientist. And I think for me, it took me a long time to transition into industry because I was really concerned that I would lose touch with pure science, because it would become very money oriented in your kind of like objectives and applications.
Yeah.
And I think for me that's not been true at all. NextCell stays very true to the science, and moves with how we can actually use this drug product. So for me, it's been a very pleasant surprise that you can marry the two together in a very harmonious way. And I think seeing now with our clinical trials that we are truly having a benefit to patients, it's really worthwhile.
Yeah. And that's often the point when I see companies, perhaps their culture takes a bit of a shift as they move in from innovation and being deep focused in discovery, and they move into clinical trials and the more commercial elements come into play. So NextCell have done a fantastic job to keep that culture discovery and innovative. What
Yeah, we've
steps
tried
do
to
you
stay
think?
close to our roots.
Yeah, yeah. What steps do you think the business has taken to achieve that?
I think it's a recognition of where your strengths lie, and kind of our founding team are scientists at heart, and we know where our abilities are, that our strengths are in our innovation, our strengths are in understanding the science and in understanding the product, and knowing that in order to make that a commercially applicable product, you need to bring in the right people as well, so that you actually have a balance where not one person's trying to do every role,
Yep.
but we recognize everyone's strengths and weaknesses, and we work together to make it happen.
Yeah. I'm getting a real sense of the purpose staying strong and true from what you're saying there.
Very much staying close to everything that NextCell has done. It has been to design this product end to end, so to never forget that the patient is who we're actually aiming at treating here, rather than just making money out of it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So when you took on your first role as a CSO, how has that changed from when you first took on the position to the way that role looks today?
Well, you definitely grow into it, especially moving from academia straight into a CSO role. I mean, you have a new kind of found recognition of the importance of core transferable skills, especially from the angle of managing teams,
Okay.
managing yourself, time management skills,
Yeah.
but also in the importance of teamwork, the importance of communication, and the importance of continuous learning. And I can't stress enough the importance of that, which for me is so important, because I as I said, I love to challenge myself, and I love to learn. So this is a continuous growth for me. And as a CSO, you never sit still because the company's moving forward. So that's fantastic because you never stop learning, and you never hit that comfortable space because you're always on the edge of your seat with the next thing coming.
Yeah. And have you found ways outside of NextCell Pharma to create that continuous learning opportunity?
For sure. So I've taken part in extending my network outwards from that within the cell and gene therapy community, because building that network brings opportunities for you personally as well as for the company. So I am a member of the International Society for Cell and Gene Therapy, and there I was elected in as the European Regional Secretary, and have recently co-chaired the European Cell Therapy event in Sweden.
Oh, excellent.
So that was a really exciting opportunity and has definitely contributed to not only my network, but my awareness of what's going on out there and what kind of next generation products are coming through and how we can apply that technology and knowledge ourselves.
Yeah.
And as well as that, I'm an active mentor for the European community in cell and gene therapy as well. And I find that extremely rewarding because, as I say to my mentees, I learn as much from them as that they do from me, because they are the next generation coming through. And if we really want these products and this industry to grow and evolve, then we need to support their development with our own learning knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you go around finding your mentees?
That's actually done through the International Society of Cell and Gene Therapy, so ISCT.
Brilliant.
For me. So we have a system every year where we support early stage professionals, and those early stage professionals will apply for a mentor, and they will be matched to the mentor's experience and knowledge.
Fantastic. And that must really give you a sense of giving back. But like you said,
Absolutely.
You learn a lot from them too.
I do. I learn a lot because they don't always come from my field. So you get a completely different viewpoint.
And a topic that often comes up in these conversations, we all know science isn't without risk. Can you think back to times in your career where you've had to be brave and you've had to take a risk?
Yeah, science is a risky industry. In academia, you're on short-term contracts, and that's, you've really got to somewhat believe in yourself, that you will move forward, because maybe you have to switch groups a couple of times, you might have to switch topics, and then obviously with industry as well, that working in a startup environment or even in an SME. We've seen ourselves over the last couple of years, investment funding drops, and that there are companies that go down even though their technology is fantastic. So I think it's keeping a finger on the pulse, and staying realistic. And as I said, not getting too comfortable, because you really do, you have to be aware that this might not be forever.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think any industry that moves fast and is as challenging and as kind of like innovative as what we're in for science is going to come with its own degree of risk. So you're aware of that when you enter the world.
Yeah. And it's a really important mindset to get yourself into. But if you were to look back, either when you were at university or when you were first starting your career, what advice, what lens would you give to yourself?
I tell myself to relax a little bit, that you can't make the right decision from day one, that it's actually the journey that shapes who you are. And the experiences, whether good or bad, they are learning and informative experiences, and they will help you gain confidence in yourself and know what you want, and allow you the knowledge to say, okay, this is the path that I want to be on for my career. And that you won't know that career path from day one.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think more needs to be done in universities so that people have more of an idea of the types of careers that would be available to them?
I think more emphasis needs to be placed on kind of self-awareness and kind of like that less of an academic mind track that you have when you go through education of you do this, you take these qualifications, you go here, that actually science is a huge world, and it's only through experiencing and opening yourself up to new opportunities, building your network, talking to people, kind of leaning into it, that you will actually experience what truly is out there and where your niche lies.
Yeah. Comes back to the kind of being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And looking back at your career, what's your proudest moment?
I think my proudest moment has actually been, well, I would say two. One has been like working on the first clinical trial that I helped write at NextCell, and seeing the first patient come into that trial and thrive off the treatment. That was extremely rewarding to see that everything that I'd learned up to that point had a real impact on someone and their well-being.
Yeah.
And then I would say in mentorship, that's really important to me, to see so many of my mentees have kept in touch with me even when I'm not their mentor anymore, because they trust that I would help them if they needed help. And knowing that I provide some kind of support system there, something that I didn't have a lot of at the start of my career, that I know the worth of it. So that means a lot to me as well.
Yeah. I can't imagine the feeling that would have been when you've treated the first patient. It's incredible.
Yeah, it was a very, very good feeling.
And hopefully many more to come.
Yes.
So what's next? What's next for Lindsay? What's next for NextCell Pharma?
Well, for NextCell, we got some very exciting data recently showing that our drug product can slow disease progression of type 1 diabetes for at least 5 years. And right now in Europe, there's nothing on the market to treat type 1 diabetes. It's just a symptom-based control through insulin. So that was super exciting. And the company's moving forward at speed there to widen that out with pediatric trials to see if we can treat children in the same way, and moving forward to phase 3 clinical development and commercialization of the product. But as part of that path, we realize that within the Nordics, where we are, there's very little support for things like quality control of drug products that are so specialist as advanced therapies are with cell therapies.
Yeah.
So we are next month launching a new company called QVance. And this will be a quality analytics company for advanced therapies, helping all the way through from that initial drug conception in the lab to commercialization of the product, and kind of plugging that gap in the market, but also with the kind of mentality that this is stemming from kind of like the brains of drug developers designed for drug developers. So a very unique type of service provision. So I'm extremely excited to be part of the founding team for that.
Yeah. So it's almost as though, even though there's been a lot of failures within cell and gene therapy throughout the clinical trials, almost the process is moving too fast for the quality and process management to fit inside that.
It's a constantly evolving process. And I think, as the products evolve and the science evolves, so do the regulations, and they go hand in hand. And it's staying up with ensuring safety and efficacy to the patient at all times with these new technologies. So we hope that we can be part of people's journey with that and support their development so it gets to patients faster, but in a safe and efficacious route.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to seeing the developments of interclinical phase 3 trials with NextCell and your exciting sister company.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please like and subscribe and share it with someone else you think will benefit. And for more podcasts, videos, blogs, and insights, come follow me, Tom Froggatt, on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Medium, or TikTok. See you next time.